Hello, everyone, back again. XOYNI, whatever you know me as, ALEXOYNI, whatever channels I upload this on. So, I guess the easiest way to say this is there's a lot on my mind. I'm trying to do a kind of more of an organized thought idea here. I started writing some. I've been trying to take more notes and kind of maybe script out a few things if I ever get the chance, which, if you don't know, I rarely ever get to do. Things are getting pretty difficult with getting around to work and different things like that. I just woke up and I woke up in some kind of mood. We'll just say that. I don't know how to explain it anything other than that. Um, for a lot of people, they don't really see more than a lot of things that I'll show, um, like when I'm doing content or whatever. They might get the idea of one way or another that I am this or I'm not this. Either way, doesn't matter. Um, so yeah, I guess in a way, I feel personally that a lot of times I'm very consistent and predictable, but yet I have the ability to do many other things and be other different types of ways without faking and so forth. And that's really what I've always tried to do. And I think to a degree, that's kind of how Silent Castle is too. I think we don't really say everything that we're thinking or feeling or whatever, whether personally or professionally. So I don't know. This is just a little preamble here, just something that was on my mind. Might get into this longer video. I'm trying to do so many different things right now, and it's like almost 3 a.m. I missed a call from Silent Castle today. We didn't get to connect before he went to work today at the hours, so we kind of missed out on an opportunity there. And then I fell asleep and overslept, quote unquote. Um, I slept at the time when I could have been able to be in contact with him. Long story short, um, I know we're trying our best to get content out. I'm trying to do my own thing and stay very busy as much as possible, and hopefully we catch up with each other and catch up on each other's work and that type deal. Um, I'd like to do more work together and so forth. I'd like to have more people to really talk about things with, especially in the work environment type deal. And when I say work, I mean YouTube, creating and such. The other personal work and life stuff, that's something we'll get into at some other time, hopefully. Um, a lot going on, like I said, and I'm not trying to make it about me necessarily, but I guess I kind of already have. I'm trying to make it more about the channel. I've always tried to kind of keep my own stuff to myself for subscribers, viewers, whatever. Um, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm kind of mixing a lot of that together right now. So hopefully you guys will stick with me. And I definitely think that there might be a little bit of annoyance or whatever from me or imperfection, but when you actually give it time and understand and whatnot, you'll probably learn quite a bit. So uh, I've had some different thoughts about why I do certain things and so forth, just like reflecting and that type deal. So like I said, in the meantime, I'm trying to write down some scripts, and I thought about a pretty deep topic that, I mean, in my history, I feel like I've known this stuff, but it's also been like, oh, you don't talk about this stuff, it's not socially acceptable, etc. Obviously, I don't care about social acceptance, and I don't care about, I mean, to a degree, you get what I'm saying. Like, um when I say social, I mean, like, I'm not out to please people. I'm not here to be fake, and if that gets me more subscribers and whatnot, I try my best not to bait people or this or that in a serious sense, at least. Yeah, so I was thinking of, um, excuse me here. I'm trying to explain myself without having to go into the whole topic and start going on and on. This has already been like 5 minutes, so Whether this ends up being an update video or I just keep going, I don't know. I really don't know from second to second. So right now I'm thinking of this topic. Now that I've rambled enough, I wrote lust/perversion and, excuse me, my writing is not great right now. Never really is. Lust, perversion, and violence, expectations, enjoyment on TV, movies, shows, games, media, etc. So basically, I was talking with a guy that I've kind of had I'm trying to think of the word. We've had some conversations, so to speak. We've texted each other on YouTube and a little bit on Instagram. I just met him, not personally, but over the internet. He's older than me. I guess I shouldn't have necessarily revealed my age necessarily, but you'd have to dig for it anyways. Whatever. This is how I am. I think about things while I'm talking, and it's difficult to keep up with. I understand. His name's JDev TV, and he usually has his big things are reactions and reviews. And for me, I don't really watch a lot of that stuff or follow it. I think even Silent Castle does that stuff more than I do. The only thing that I really kind of follow, in a sense, you could say, that's um, like consistently on TV or movies, etc., mostly is wrestling stuff. And I want to do separate videos on that too. Different things I like, dislike, etc. The whole being too much of a fan and taking your own enjoyment out of it, and what you feel like they've really messed up, and if I'm being too hard on people, or so to speak, like what am I doing to try to enjoy something? Am I making things too hard? Am I accepting too little? It's just one of those balancing type things where I look at myself and say, am I the problem here, so to speak? Am I choosing to make things difficult, or are things really just like not enjoyable, so to speak? Like they're just, even purposely, which I could go down a deeper esoteric topic with that, which, like I said, I understand it's hard to to follow, because I'll go from 1 second talking about something like TV shows, and then I'll connect them to why something's happening in a TV show, and maybe someone will understand it at first, but then they go, why are you talking about something else, so to speak? When I say something else, I mean esoteric, meaning like the truth, meaning exposing this stuff. I don't know a lot of people that do that. I know some, in a sense, they are trying to enjoy the shows and whatnot, or they're trying to mock the shows, because really, I feel like sometimes people force themselves to watch things and to review them and whatnot, and I really tried not to. That's why I don't like do wrestling reviews, or even like Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh reviews, or that type stuff, like consistently. It's an idea, but it's very difficult to force myself to want to talk about something that I don't even watch. I don't really want to watch at the moment. And then if I force myself, then I'm going to just upset myself, being like, okay, I did this. Now I'm mad about it. Now I'm going to go on the internet and talk about it. And I'm already made myself upset because I didn't want to do it. But then I did it. And then that's going to come out on the internet as me just being like, oh, maybe too harsh on something. And it's just a matter of perspective and a lot of different. I lose track of what I'm trying to say a lot, and like I can't think of the words I was saying, but I think I got out what I was trying to say about that topic. And then I kind of just have, I feel like my brain just like either just went on overload and just stopped on me, or I just can't think of what I was going to say next. But yeah, I don't plan on going into this topic right here yet. as you know, I'm trying to do many different things, but I want to try more often to upload videos that are shorter necessarily, not necessarily shorts, because I really don't care for them that much, I guess, in a sense. To a degree, I do, but to a degree, I don't. I will do my best to not do them if I can, if that makes sense. For better or worse, it's not really the stuff that I watch a lot of times. Most things that I'm watching are over 3 minutes long. I'm consuming things a lot more than 3 minutes, so to speak. Or I shouldn't say necessarily a lot. I don't really like real long videos. I like that in between spot a lot of times. Over 3 minutes, less than whatever, depending on how I feel, what I'm doing, what the topic is, etc. What I'm trying to get out of it. Yeah, so hopefully that makes sense. I know that's a whole other topic about short videos. And while I'm talking, I'm trying to take notes here on what I'm saying because I feel like that's smart and I feel um like I'd like to be writing about my topic that I was thinking of while talking about this, but then I'm like, I feel like I live like that a lot of times. Like I'll be talking about something and then I'll be thinking about something else at the same time. So I'm never fully like focused on what I'm trying to get at. So then I don't get my full enjoyment or whatever out of it, whatever I'm trying to do. And the points may not come across as well as they could be, so to speak. Um, let's see here. I thought I had another topic, little something else to say. If I can't think of it here in the next few moments, I'm gonna let this go. Yeah, it's escaping me, but thank you guys very much. Appreciate you, one way or the other. Oh, let's go into JDev TV again. So we just had a little back and forth at 2 a.m. and I was just telling him it crossed my mind because he's been doing the Mr. Robot. And it has some level of perversion and violence, but it's not constant. It's not Saw or something like that. Even Saw has some level of non-violence and such at times. It's coming, but it's not like constant. Which I want to kind of talk about Terrifier. I tried watching that for like half a moment. I tried twice and I was like, I don't know if this is for me or not. We'll see. Might force myself to get through it. I don't know. The first two scenes were not ideal for me, though. We'll just say that. And then I didn't even know that the original movie came out like almost 10 years ago. It came out 9 years ago. And I never saw it or whatnot. I didn't have streaming and all that, really. I think the first thing I ever streamed was WWE Network. So, and that was even I never really followed that even like I could. Every now and then we'd watch something or whatever, but for me it was pretty rare, and I like to think that it kept me to do other things than just like stare at this TV, and I thought about other things. Obviously, I have video game information, I have other TV shows and stuff like that, but I was still, even to this day, if I could consistently get my TV games and stuff like that, I would do more of that stuff. Honestly, like I feel like I would. When the short times I get it, I I've been more the type to go to the library and get stuff than to rely on streaming or even buying the movies and such when I could really afford it and have a lot of extra money to just throw around, which I'd like to say very few times in my life where I've just been in the point where I have the kind of money and resources and the availability to just, if I go to a store and maybe want to get something and not have to worry about if I spend this, is this going to bother me later? I'm very tight about that stuff. Like, if I spend any amount of money on something, I really want to get something out of it. I think about the long term. Am I gonna, if I buy something like a movie or, game or whatever, how many hours am I gonna get out of this? How much enjoyment am I getting out of this? And if I feel like it's significant, then I probably will get it. A lot of times, almost, I feel like it's not like I get gifts a lot necessarily, but like if someone asks me, like, oh, what can I get for you or whatever, I'll come up with some things, but I'll get them some things as gifts more likely than not. And I still, and this is hard to explain with physical media and all that, so I'm going to take a note of that. Physical media versus library versus streaming, etc. I still am not fully comfortable with a lot of the streaming and whatnot, how I don't like the idea behind it. And that's usually how I feel like things. Like, I see something wrong with something and I don't want to necessarily become a part of it, if that makes sense. I'm very much in that way where something could be enjoyable to some people and then you say like, I don't really like it, or I don't really follow it, or that type deal, and then they might look at you like you're crazy or something because it's like the main show or whatever, which partially I grew up kind of wanting to distance myself from a lot of things that are popular. Maybe I didn't give things enough fair chance or whatnot, but that's it took me the way it took me, so to speak, and I'm still kind of like that. Like, um, a lot of things I don't know what they are unless people are talking about them. And then if I hear people talking about it, I don't necessarily seek it out in a deep sense. I might like look it up and be like, what's this about? And just take a quick peek. That way, if I hear about it, I know what people are talking about, etc. Kind of keep my finger on the pulse, so to speak. But I don't need to know every detail about everything in that way. So, excuse me, about JDev TV. He's covering Supernatural, which I never really I never watch any of Supernatural. I know it's like a agenda-filled TV show. Every TV show is agenda-filled. We'll just go with that. I don't want to say certain words that start with S and end with, C, or the idea behind it ends in an ism, or the being ends in an N, if that makes sense. Or I'll start with an S if you want to look at it that way. Satin, so to speak. Ism, ist, ick. That's nice. I like that. I might use that ick because that's like the slang nowadays. So I mean, I kind of like talking like this. It's just very difficult, and I kind of am hard on myself where I'm like, what am I going to talk about? How am I going to keep this going? But yet, I want to do longer videos if at all possible. It's just very hard between not only the time, but also having the memory to on my phone, on the devices and so forth, and staying focused. There's just so many different things I'd like to go into, and if I felt like they were more important, I'd go into them. Maybe I have to make more content that is more along a certain line so people kind of know that's what I'm going to be doing, as opposed to just dropping something, quote unquote. I don't like that phrase either. I don't really like any slang, so to speak. I meant dropping as in, like, when I said dropping, I don't mean like this, how other people say, like, oh, it dropped, like it came out. I meant dropping as in, like, sudden, like random, so to speak. Which I know I do that a lot anyways, because I'm usually making content of, quote unquote, making content. Uploading content of many different things, and I'm trying to be kind of like a variety of it, and especially with how you get channels shut down for having backups if it's found out that you're doing that and so forth, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. Like, if you want to talk about different things or you want to upload to multiple channels or whatever, I don't see really a problem with that. And unless you're like, I know some people can get away with it, like if they're part of the system, so to speak, they got the blue check mark and all that. I'll go further into part of the system. I don't just mean a blue check mark, because anyone can get a blue check mark. You pay for it, so to speak. Doesn't mean you're anything special in that way. Like, views aren't everything and so forth. I know that's easy to say, but that's the stuff you're gonna find more. The people who get more views, and generally there's a reason why you might get more views and so forth. There's, they might be connected to something, but they also might have some level of talent and whatnot. You can kind of take personal out of it and say it is still good, but it is agenda pushing. It is part of the system. It is, so to speak. All right, let's go to JDev TV. He's doing Mr. Robot, and I've seen the show a decent amount of times, I would say, enough to kind of, like, I remember some of it. Obviously, the show came out 10 years ago, and I watched it pretty much. I actually kind of followed it from a certain time consistently, like week to week as they were coming out. I had cable and all that when I could, I was watching it. I feel like that show actually kind of woke me up a lot to, it was one of the many shows that was like pushed me towards esotericism and whatnot. And I don't think they necessarily wanted that, or I feel like if they did, they didn't care if you really got to think about esoteric, like true content and like lesser known information stuff. But I feel like that show is such like gatekeeping to whatever, so to speak. Like, a lot of these shows are like, what do you call it, like gatekeeping and gaslighting, and these slang phrases that are just difficult for people to understand and use. And why do we have to use these phrases? Just explain what you're saying instead of using phrases. I hate that so much, but I also do it, so I apologize if it's confusing. I feel like a lot of shows, they'll give you some truth, but then they lead you down the wrong path, or they distract you from actual truth and whatnot. And you know what? I might actually just do, I'd like to do a video on Mr. Robot, how it's part of system and characters fake, we'll just say. Because obviously the things that happen in that show would not happen in real life. And that's kind of the annoying part, if that makes sense. It's like, oh, it's a great idea or whatever, but it's not going to happen in real life, so to speak. And I don't like the stereotype, the archetype of like Elliot's character, that he's a drug addict and he's a loner and all that, and that's why, as part of his hacker gimmick and hacking, I don't like that stuff. Like, you can kind of understand some of it to a degree, but it's kind of like, in a way, it's kind of whiny. It's kind of like being the victim and whatnot. It's like, I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily, well, I know it's not the type of thing I try to be, so to speak. I really try not to. And we're definitely not a drug addict and whatnot. I mean, like, playing the victim and whatnot. But these things don't happen on these TV shows. That they wouldn't actually happen in real life. And it takes me out of it. It's like, if you're really aware of things, I guess some people would call it like insulting your intelligence or whatever. I'm like, I'm not that offended by things in that way. Like, I've watched a lot of things where I'm just like, I'm going to get through this no matter what. For better or worse, I've done that, because I know a lot of shows and stuff, people are like, how did you finish that or whatever? I shut it off or whatever. It's like, at some point I was following it, and then maybe I fell off, and then maybe I picked it back up or whatever. Any given thing, I try to stick with things. As for growing up and and really learning the truth and whatnot. It's like, am I really using my time wisely on this? Am I this or that? Yeah, so that would explain it. I just started writing a text to him. I wish I could read it to you. I should have taken a picture of it on my other device. I've been doing that a lot more, where I'll get information and store it, and then kind of keep it for later to talk about. So I'll try to do better about that. But I basically just said, like, the show kind of like falls off for me in a sense, or it has its ups and downs. And I'm wondering if the ups and downs are just because I'm desensitized to violence and lust and whatnot, which are, obviously sinful and whatnot, which I won't go too far into, but obviously, there's some level of faith going on here, and belief and, morality, whatever you want to call it. Because I'm not a dialogue person. I really don't like talking back and forth on movies and stuff. I want to see, well, I say that, but I don't necessarily mean that fully. There's some level of, you gotta make it easier for me. And maybe it's because the show's an hour long, which is really like 45 minutes, 50 minutes with commercials and the edits and all that. Like in wrestling, I like when they talk and whatnot sometimes. Like a lot of times that's more of what I'm into than the actual anything else, really. The hyping and the quote unquote character development, which when I was writing, I didn't even know what that was. Like I legitimately never heard about that or knew what it was. And I was never doing it because I grew up, I guess, from wrestling. I was so focused on the in-ring or whatever, I would think, like, when I was focused on that, I wasn't focused enough on the build-up and the follow-through and this and that. But that's really what I like about it, like, more than the athletic part, if that makes sense. And that's how I was with sports, too, when I was really into it, is the talking, the hype, the stuff that really gets you there. It's like you want something to be good, so you hype it. It gets hyped up, and you're like, okay, this is cool. And then it happens, and then it's like, okay, like it's almost like once it happens, it's already at its down point. Like it's already going down. It's at its falling action, so to speak. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I don't know how else to explain it. I'm not gonna ramble too much on it more. So there's a little bit of things in that show that are like, ooh, is this something that's getting me excited, etc.? Or is it, mostly is violence and lust or sinful behavior, so to speak? Like it's titillating. It's something like that. Instead of the dialogue, a lot of times is distracting. It's hard to keep up with, etc. And yeah, I would say a lot of shows sometimes could use more violence and perversion and that type stuff to make them personally more entertaining for me, but that's also like a me problem. It could be. So yeah, I'm probably going to make a whole video about it. I really did not expect this to be like almost a half-hour video already. I almost look at this as like a live stream. Like these videos, like you're almost live streaming or vlogging or whatever. Like these longer content, which if you followed me any amount of time, this is pretty rare for me to actually have time to focus and whatnot. And honestly, while I'm doing this, I'd like to be doing something else. Meanwhile, because when I talk, a lot of times, like, I'll be walking or something with a game. Like, I'll be playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Or something, Pokemon, on the game. Something that you don't usually have to be full-on under, immersed in while I'm talking and whatnot. I make my decision to play a game based on that, because a lot of the games I grew up, I play and whatnot, you don't have to have your full attention on. So I'll probably cut pretty soon, and I need to use the bathroom. But yeah, it was just a thought that crossed my mind, and I think I'm onto something there. I definitely do. And I want to get more things out that are really deeper and such in my mind, instead of just like, okay, I'm watching this or listening to this, let me talk about this or upload whatever they're doing or talking about, so to speak. It's like a mixture of, you're going to get some news, you're going to get some reactions, you're going to get some long talking videos rarely, you're going to get video game playing, you're going to get videos hanging out with Silent Castle and such. And there's other people I'd like to involve, but they just don't do anything. Like, they could make their own stuff, they don't do it. So it's almost like in a sense I feel like there's some people that I've associated with and friends with and whatnot that don't really do things they're supposed to do, and that's really kind of strained us a little bit, where I'm not around them as much anyways because I'm so busy, but also we could probably be around each other more and enjoy things more, and they could also do a lot better with, in my opinion, or should say differently, but really better, about like being creative and whatnot. They don't seem to think like I do. Like, they can sit there and play a video game and focus on it, so to speak. And then they're so focused, like if you try to talk to them when they're playing a game, they can't talk. They don't know how to multitask, and it's hard for me to be around that stuff because I'm sitting there like, well, we're supposed to be doing this together, but you're more focused on the game and such. So like if we're playing Pokemon, they're playing Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! I understand they're trying to do their own thing, but also, why aren't we just dueling or battling right now? You're gonna get the same thing from me, a better understanding, and you get to learn. But you're so like, you want to be alone in that type stuff. I've had that before, and yeah, the whole three's a crowd thing is definitely came up in my life before. Three or more, you're on the outside, and I always try to not take other people out of it, get everybody involved and so forth. But I also really hate groups. I'll be honest. I really, really hate groups. Generally, there's a few people and a few times you never know what you're going to get, obviously, but sometimes it can work. But usually, when there's a group of three or more, someone gets really left out because there's only room to talk to like the person. So I don't even like really groups of three sometimes. Sometimes I prefer four, because then if I'm left out or someone else is left out, I've got one other person to talk to. These guys can talk about something. These guys can talk about something. So I think I got my whole thoughts out for a preview video and such. I wanted to do differently, but I zone in or zone out, however way you want to look at it. And I don't do a lot of other things while I'm talking, if that makes sense. So what I was just saying about them playing video games, I'm saying about me talking, but I feel like my stuff is more important, and I'm actually trying to get something out instead of just staring at a TV. So I could see the hypocrisy there, but I don't think it's a one-to-one equivalent. So there you go. Thank you guys very much. God bless. Enjoy your week, whatever it is. It's Saturday morning, and it's going to be a heck of a weekend. It's going to be something else. And I don't know when I'll have time or whatnot, when I'll make more. But I really want to. Really struggle to know when to sleep, when to be awake, this, that, and the other. Thank you guys very much. That's all I can say.